It never fails whenever I show one of my shop vacs in a video um, that needs to have the filter cleaned. I get a ton of comments on cyclones, pointing out their existence and the benefits of them. Like, there's even a remote possibility that I could somehow not know that. Um, why don't I use cyclones on my shop vacs? Well, I don't use them, not because I've got anything against them, it's because they take up too much space. It's bad enough to have to sacrifice some space in the shop to the vacuums themselves, but you're going to need to double that for a cyclone plus the bucket. I mean, the cyclone itself is not very big. You can make a small one, or you can buy that plastic small one and put it on top of the bucket. It's the bucket that takes up all the space. So I use the vacuums as they were designed with the filters that are in there. I don't use bags because they are a waste of money. I let the filter fill up and then I bring it out and I clean it. Another thing about cyclones that a lot of people don't realize or know is that there's a performance hit to the overall system. The pressure drops inside the cyclone area, and that will reduce velocity and also airflow. So you're, in my opinion, are better off for small jobs. I'm not talking about a big production shop, or if you've got it built up in your mind that you have a big production shop when in fact you just have a hobby shop and you only do it on the weekends. You don't need a gigantic system with pipes running everywhere if you're not doing this all the time. That's my opinion, though. But my opinion is based on years of doing this. And I've had dust collectors before, bigger ones, and I just don't think that they're worth the space that you have to give up. Okay, so that's it on the cyclone. That's all I got to say about that. Before I go, I do have one other thing I'd like to talk about briefly, and that is the shop vac cabinet. Not the cabinet itself, but the noise that the shop vac creates. So seems to be noise in general seems to be a huge issue for guys these days. And I don't know. It's a fucking workshop, all right? You got tools in there that make noise. There's no escaping the noise. See, back in the 90s and, the late 80s and early 90s, like I was in my prime. I was like, my early to mid 20s. So I was really quite different, a lot different than I am now. I'm way more, I don't know, laid back now. I was a pretty intense young man, I'll tell you. And I was very, very into woodworking and all that kind of thing because at that point I was just starting to get really good at it. See, you guys haven't seen any of my good work because I don't do any good work anymore, mainly because I've lost interest in doing any kind of good work. And this is what I would tell young woodworkers to really cherish the time you have now to when you have the enthusiasm, because enthusiasm is something that you lose as you get older, as you get better. Part of the reason why you have enthusiasm in the first place is because it's new to you and you rise to the challenges that come up and you're eager to learn these things. But believe me, that goes away somewhat. It's not to say that I'm totally blasé on it now. It's just that when I look at a project that I want to do, the first thing I have to do is assess how much time it's going to take. And if it's going to take too much time, I kind of lose my interest in it. Getting back to the noise issue, back in the 90s, they were making shop vacs that were functional, and so they were noisy. But man, did they suck. That vacuum that I have there, that's 27 years old, has way more suction than the best one that I have, which I bought, I don't know, a couple of years ago for $199. And it's bigger, it has a bigger motor. It should have more suction, but it doesn't because they did stuff to make it more quiet. So that's the trade-off. Noisy, better; quieter, not so good. See, back in the 90s, there wasn't any internet, okay? There wasn't any YouTube to sit around and look at. The guys that were doing woodworking in their garage, they're hardcore. They were into it, and a little bit of noise. They don't fucking care about any, noise like that. The shop, to get out into the shop, there were two reasons for it, okay? Because they loved doing it, and to get away from their nagging of a wife.